Hi, it's me, Eternal, and I've been gone a while. I had to prioritize some things in my life, which sucks because whilst I've been gone, I've noticed a few things have been added to For Honor. The now past Test Your Metal, musical finishes, seppuku, and a number of other trinkets in the Season of Tyranny. Oh, and she's back. Anyways, in my last video, I said I would go over the perks and feats I used for my Valkyrie and why I chose them. And since a number of you also dig how she's looking, I'm gonna go over a customization. So pay attention and enjoy. Before I go into the perks and feats I use for my Valk, I'm basing the reasoning I use for picking specific ones from my own personal playstyle with her and from how I understand the character. So this is quite opinionated. Besides the fashion, it's just top tier, you can't argue with that. My first loadout is probably my main loadout fashion-wise for the channel, as I've been in some matches where people actually recognize who I am from the look of my Valk and be like,
Wait. Cookie guy?
This is my most iconic look for my Valkyrie, so this should be called the EternalCookie loadout, or Haephir, which is the name I've decided to give her, spelled Hay and then Fear. For her helmet, I'm using the Eternal Grace helm, which I think is one of the coolest helmets in the game. It goes really well with the Hex Curtains paint pattern I've used for my main Valkyrie since about Season 6, and I like to think that it's become sort of iconic for the look of my Valkyrie on the channel, which is why I still have it to this day. I'm also using the ram skull embossing on the helmet to add a bit more complexity to the overall look, as Valk's fashion game is strongest with her helmets. It's also a bit of a homage to her pre-rework ram's headbutt from a guard break, where she could knock down an opponent who was low on stamina for a full out-of-stand punish. Sadly, she's lost a bit of her identity since then. I love that move. For her chest piece, I'm using the Tungsten Metal chest, which could have been obtained through the Returns Test Your Metal event. I've almost exclusively used this chest piece for my main Valkyrie since Season 5 because of the black and gold themes that go well with what I've got going for her. I'm using the Skyline 3 paint pattern here. That is one of the gradient patterns you can get in your Rep 50s. I do like the effect it has with the gradient, but I wish the UB gods would just go all the way in giving us a pure gradient pattern without any shapes or anything in the way. I'm also using the deer skull embossing on the chest and back as it helps blend the paint pattern into the armor. For her right arm, I have the Dark Knots tattoo, probably my favorite one. For her arms, I'm using the Hagma arms. I used to go for the Eternal Grace arms for a lot of my loadouts, but then I decided that it just looked too chunky, and I wanted to go for a sleeker look. The Hagma arms are sleek and have black fur to go with the chest piece. Pretty cool. I'm also using the Skyline 3 paint pattern for the arms, as I am a big fan of the slight gradient in it. I don't particularly like the shapes that you can see on the arms, but I can't find anything else like it. I also wish UB would remove the requirement to have a paint pattern here, because I think the arms would just look a lot cooler on their own. I'm also using the Celtic Weave 3 embossing here to blend the gradient in. For the spearhead, I'm using the Fiona Zereth head. I much prefer weapons that have gold touches here and there for the most part, as opposed to more flashy weapons that sort of pick a style for you, which makes the spearhead one of my favorites. For the spear handle, I'm using the Ida shaft, and for the shield, I'm using the Asgard buckler. I prefer the biggest shield the Valkyrie has, and I believe this is the biggest shield you can get for her. I'm using the Grower's Vision 1 paint pattern on my shield to completely send my enemies into a trance if they look my way. In terms of the colors I'm using, I usually like to use the same color palette for both neutral and attacker themes, as I work with red and gold quite a bit. I'm using Cold Heat for my neutral and attacking colors, and I'm using Royal for my defending colors. I'm using the black material, of course, and I'm using the Jeweled Horn ornament, which you can get for around 5,000 steel. So yeah, no venturing into the Warden breeding grounds. I mean, ranked. Yeah, ranks. Don't go there. The idea behind this build performance-wise is to have a mix between being a team player as well as a self-sustaining Valkyrie in 4v4s. However, there is a grey area with how Valk is quote-unquote meant to be played in 4v4s, as where she is intended to be a good support hero, she can feed revenge quite easily with her bash, and she can trip up her teammates with a sweep, which can also feed revenge, so overall not the best support hero. but this doesn't mean that you can't use what she has in a different way. For my first feat, I've chosen Bounty Hunter. This is a really useful feat and I use it in all of my Valkyrie builds. You gain a bit of health and completely restore your stamina whenever you kill another hero. In team fights, this can come in handy when you're low on health and pick off an unsuspecting player to then be able to get back into the fight. Next, I've chosen Bloodlust, and I also use this in all of my Valk builds. Quite an underrated feat in my opinion. Whenever you kill a hero, you gain a temporary attack and defense buff for around 10 seconds. After these 10 seconds are up, there's a 30-second cooldown until the feat can be activated again. A good example of where I use this feat is in my 143 damage combo video, at around the 15-minute mark, where I instant killed a Conqueror with this feat in one combo. So if you want to see this in action, go and check it out. Next, we have Fury, and this is an all-around buff to your speed, attack, and defense. I usually pop this if I'm getting severely ganked or if the enemy team is breaking, in which case I'll combine it with this next feat I'm going to talk about. Scout marks out all enemies on the map for a period of time and gives them a debuff to their stamina and defense. Combined with Fury and possibly your revenge, this can really help yourself out in tough ganks and can also help out your team towards the end of the game. Valkyrie has all support perks, which means that a focus is placed on how she can help a team out and her maneuverability around the map. Like I said, this build is a bit of a mixture between some self-preservation and team fights. So, I'm running Remedy, which gives Valk a bit of extra health upon each kill, on top of Bounty Hunter. Feline Agility, which boosts Valk's movement speed by 4% for unlocking your first feat or renown level, and then by 2% for each of the remaining feats. And finally, Clever Tactics, which allows Valk to capture zones and use offerings 15% faster. This build isn't specialized into a certain game mode. It's sort of a mixture and a whatever works kind of thing, but it can still be quite effective. The next two builds I'm going over are both exactly the same fashion-wise and are centered on this Valhalla Valkyrie concept. They are both alternatively specialized for Breach, but the third one is also my go-to for Dominion. These builds are made for traversing around the map with ease and speed in order to help out teammates in group fights and such. For her helmet, I've of course chosen a Bear Eternal Grace helm, looks Asgardian and holy in a sense. For her chest piece, I've chosen the Frigg chest. This chest piece is brighter than most and has golden aspects to it, fitting the Valhalla theme. I've again chosen the Skyline 3 paint pattern here for the sweet gradient, and have also chosen the runic compass embossing. For her right arm, I have the Viking cross tattoo. For her arms, I've chosen the Spirial arms. What I really like about these arms is the golden metal padding on the left shoulder, which again, fits the theme. Still, I'd wish UB would remove the requirements to have a paint pattern on Valk's right shoulder, as it'd be great if I could see the gold on that one too. Nevertheless, I've chosen the Skyline 3 paint pattern without the embossing this time. For the spearhead, I've chosen the Fiona Zereth head again. Nothing too fancy, but still looks well with the theme we've got going. For the spear handle, I've chosen the Azel shaft. I like having a wooden spear handle as opposed to a purely metal handle, as I like to think that the spear is light yet durable. For her shield, I've chosen the Herjes Chains buckler, which is from the Season 6 event Rite of Champions. In terms of colour, I'm using the Radioactive Decay for neutral, Hide for attacking, and Patrol for defending. Finally, I'm using the dark brown material with no ornament. I'm using the same feats for both builds, with the only difference from the previous build being the usage of Javelin in favour of Fury. The reason behind this is due to the direct 50 damage that Javelin can deal. In combination with Bloodlust, this can become 68 damage. I like to use Javelin to quickly eliminate a player from a fight, especially if we are outnumbered. Javelin also has a faster cooldown than Fury, meaning that you don't have to savour it as much for certain situations. The perks are where these two builds differ. The first build I have here is specialised for when I'm on the attacking team in Breach. Radiant Rebound allows Valk to gain 20% movement speed for 10 seconds when spawning or being revived. This is great for re-entering team fights where Valk will be required to help out her teammates. Feline Agility will also be another boost to Valk's movement speed, meaning that when all of her feats are unlocked upon respawning, Valk will have an added 30% movement speed. Clever Tactics is what makes this build specialised for the attacking team in Breach or for a tribute game if I were to find one. The time it takes to capture the zones on the ramparts are quite important in Breach, and Clever Tactics allows Valk to maintain pressure on the enemy team in that regard. The other build here is intended for when I'm on the defending team in Breach or for if I'm playing Dominion. Radiant Rebound, good for team support. Feline Agility, even more speed. Rapid Refresh allows every enemy killed or ally revived by Valk to reduce her active cooldowns by 5%. This can be pretty good for feats such as Bloodlust or Javelin. As this is a Valk build that is intended for running around the map and helping teammates, picking off enemy players and such, it allows me to have a more fast-paced experience with Valk that allows for my feats to be used slightly more often in order to quickly eliminate players from team fights. As I'm aware that I've used this Valk build quite a bit in previous videos, I'll also be going over what used to be one of my favourite Valkyrie loadouts that I have made that specialises in anti-ganking. For her helmet, I chose the Frigg helm. I see this one used quite a bit, but for good reason. It's nice. For her chest piece, I chose the fuller chest. I'm again using the Skyline 3 paint pattern and I'm using the knotted wings embossing. For her right arm, I'm using the Viking cross tattoo. For her arms, I'm using the battering ram arms. Again, Skyline 3 paint pattern with the Celtic Weave 3 embossing. For her spear head, I'm using the Fiona Zereth head. For her spear handle, I'm using the Ida shaft. For her shield, I'm using the Asga buckler with the Grower's Vision 1 paint pattern. In terms of colours, I'm using Cold Heat for both the neutral and attacking colours and Patrol for the defending colours. And I'm using the dark brown material with no ornament. The feats I'm using for this build are the exact same as my first Valkyrie build, running Fury in favour of Javelin. The perks I have chosen for this build can be used in a number of game modes, but the build is made more for a self-sustaining type of playstyle with anti-ganking and such. When in a tough gank, this build can pop both Fury and Scout at the same time in combination with Revenge, in order to deal a massive amount of damage to the enemy team. Remedy allows for a bit more extra health to be gained on top of Bounty Hunter for every hero kill. Feline Agility allows for slightly enhanced mobility around the map in order to get to places more efficiently. And Rapid Refresh allows for feats such as Bloodlust, Fury and Scout to be activated slightly more often, meaning more damage and more chances to anti-gank. Well, there we go. That was all of my Valkyrie builds and how they can be used. I hope you all enjoyed and took something away from this, be it perk related or how to look like a badass on the battlefield. Now go send some souls to Valhalla. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.